Okay, just want to talk about sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and sarcomere hypertrophy and the two differences in these disciplines in regards to muscle growth. And understanding the physiological actions that happen between sarcoplasmic and sarcomere hypertrophy. Now, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy meaning muscle growth. Start with sarcoplasmic. How does it work? I'm just going to draw a cell. As you can see here, here's a muscle cell. Inside a muscle cell, we have our muscle fibers, as you can see here in red. Also within the muscle cell, we have what's known as organelles. These are these things in green here, and organelles such as mitochondria. Now, our muscle fibers, as you can see here, need ATP to produce energy. ATP is made via our organelles, and also known as mitochondria, through what's known as mitochondrial oxidation of fat, glycogen and oxygen to produce energy for the mitochondria to work. Also within our muscle cell we'll have glycogen, and this is represented by well, these are meant to be blue triangles. So this is our glycogen. Also within our cell we have cytoplasm, and this is our cytoplasma here within the cell. Now, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, through various training principles such as high rep training, volume training, time and attention, any type of training that's going to produce a long-term muscle contraction over a set period of time is going to massively reduce and empty our glycogen levels like so. Once these glycogen levels have been emptied, the physiological action of this muscle cell through sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, through this volume training, through this high intensity training and high rep training, they have physiological actions. The body needs to adapt to the amount of training that has been produced through this sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, through this volume, time and attention, high reps. And the body will change physiologically in the cell, in particular will change by introducing more glycogen. And we're needing more glycogen here to supply the higher volume of training through the reps, the volume, time and attention. As you can see, we have an increase in glycogen stores. Physiologically, the body will also adapt by incorporating more cytoplasma within that muscle as well. And an increase in organelles. So we have more organelles, and again these organelles are here to convert the glycogen into ATP. So because the muscle cell increases in all these principles here, the cell itself will be forced. The cell itself will be forced to grow, as you can see, kind of here, and the cell will grow. Let's put a few more glycogen in there. So more glycogen, more cytoplasma, and more organelles. So this is, as I said, through high intensity, high rep training, high volume, time and attention. Nothing to do with strength training, kind of lifting as heavy as you can. But as you can see, the cell has grown. We have a larger diameter in cell, more glycogen, more cytoplasma, more organelles to produce ATP. But as I mentioned, because we're not about strength training, your weights are kept kind of generally light, we don't have any hypertrophy within our muscle fibers. They generally stay the same. And this is where we can get increased muscle hypertrophy, muscle size, but our strength doesn't generally change through the training methods. Over a period of time, you will get a certain adaptation. The muscle fibers will, over a period of time, spill over and start to grow slightly, become stronger slightly. But in general, through sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, you generally don't get any stronger. However, we get a good growth in cell volume, which can expand our muscle cells and hypertrophy on our muscle cells. Okay, and that's sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Going on to now sarcomere hypertrophy. This I draw a cell here in our sarcomere hypertrophy, and here's our muscle fibres. As you can see here, I'm going to pop in our organelles, our mitochondria as such. Here's our glycogen levels and our cytoplasma. Now, sarcomere hypertrophy. Now, we are looking here now at strength training. So we're looking at kind of our 1 rep max is 87% and above. And we're looking now at causing micro tears here within our muscle fibre. So we're lifting a 1 to 5 rep range, 85% and above on 1 rep max. This is heavy training. And through this heavy training, we're going to cause tiny little satellite tears in these muscle fibres. And these are known as satellite tears, as I mentioned. And we get satellite cells that will rebuild the muscle fibre and increase the actual size of that muscle fibre. So that muscle fibre starts to get larger as we train heavier. Okay, starts to get larger. Let me just take these out. So these cells, these muscle fibre cells get larger, and as they get larger, they get stronger. Now, through this sarcomere hypertrophy and this strength training, we don't get much call for glycogen levels during this type of training. A lot of it will be to do with chemical energy, such as creatine phosphates. So we don't get much call for our organelles to produce ATP via glycogen. And we don't get much room for plasma as well because of that type of training. But we do get growth in our muscle fibres. But as you can see here, we don't actually get any cell growth. Not like our sarcoplasma, where it's adapting to the volume of training through the high reps, through the glycogen, the cytoplasma and organelles. Sarcomere hypertrophy, we don't actually get any cell growth, so it doesn't grow that much. But what we do get is obviously growth in these fibres. Okay, and we do get strong. As a matter of fact, we get as strong as an ox, but it doesn't produce massive muscle gains. And looking at the difference of these, again, this is what you want out of your training. And many times I see in a gym young lads in there with their vests on, their t-shirts on, lift big, get big. Not so much truth in that. Okay, again, coming back to the physiologically of how that muscle grows, and understanding, do you want to get strong, do you want to get big? Now, if you was to do both of these, that's absolutely fine, but the process of getting bigger is going to take a lot longer. You really do need to concentrate on what you want. Strength, the strength you're looking for, it's this here, this sarcomere, this growing of these myofibrils through strength training. If it's sarcomere hypertrophy, if we're looking now for kind of mass size in our muscles, we must concentrate on this sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, the growth of our glycogen, your cytoplasma, your organelles, but you're not going to get any kind of strength gains with them here. So again, depending on what your goals are, will be to kind of type of training you will do. Just wanted to do this just to understand the different types of training and different types of goals and what you're looking for, and understanding in regards to sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and sarcomere in regards to muscle growth.